And listen, I'm an old hippie, and so I would prefer to listen to Pink Floyd or the Grateful Dead, but I started playing this classical music before we began our webinars, and it's amazing what that does for me. It sets my mind in the right place. And so it's just a helpful hint that might be beneficial to you. Many of you were making comments about the music as we started this morning. So just thought I'd share that with you. Okay, share who you are and where you're from this morning as we are on this Friday before Christmas on Monday. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. It's just been an interesting week leading up to this webinar, some really cool stuff, and I feel like we got a huge benefit delivered to us, and that's the reason why I put the Santa Claus picture there, because the version 3 that has come out, this permeation of version 3 has been pretty amazing, and it's been warmly received. There are still some things that are going on with that, things that we will talk about a little bit this morning, not a lot, but a little bit, and some other things that I think might be helpful to you this morning. So, all right, let's get started. Are y'all ready to get started? Let's go through the typical basics that we always cover when we get started here. We're going to cover both YOUZIGN, GIFZIGN, and any other future products that we might have, and we've added LogoZIGN to that list. And there will be others as we go through 2018. This will be the last webinar we'll do. Is it? No, we'll do one more. I will do the webinar next Friday. That's next Friday's still in the calendar. Forgot about that. I apologize. So we will cover both YOUZIGN, GIFZIGN, and any other future products that we might have. So keep that in mind. If you came on listening for one, don't be surprised if we spend a little more time with one of the others, because they're all in that stable suite of products, and they're all important to help you to become the designer that you want to be. Okay, all the support questions, we do not handle support questions on here, and a support question is not this doesn't work for me, but I'm having an issue loading this, or this isn't rendering the way I thought it would, or something to that effect. If you have those types of support questions, send them to support. Your questions are always important, but they must relate to the day's topic. Keep in mind, we spend a lot of time preparing for the webinar, and as much as I want to make it as interactive as possible, we have exactly an hour. So I want to make sure that we maximize that hour, and we do it in a way that I have prepped for, so that you get the maximum benefit from that. Replays are available in support, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. And just keep that in mind, that replays are in support. That question gets asked every single time, and I want to clear that up at the very beginning. Replays will be available in support. Okay, and then please refer to the document that Gloria just provided for you that looks like this, and it's a PDF file that has links and other things on it that you might find beneficial. Okay, so make sure that you have that. We have not updated that for probably 6 weeks or so, and now with the release of version 3, we'll discuss that. I will be discussing version 3 today, the desktop version. I can't talk about it until it's released. Now, I've showed a little bit about it, but I will talk about it at length when it's ready to be released. So we will be updating this very soon. Gloria and I will get together after today's webinar, and we'll see what we need to update on this. We had to wait for the release of version 3 to figure out what we might have to put in this resource document. Okay. The next thing is about the replay. We noticed a problem. Somebody had reported to us that there was an issue with the replay, and you can see it here. This is my edited version in Camtasia, and you see the toolbar over here. YouTube has tweaked something, and I'm not sure what it is. We haven't been able to find it, and Dr. P, she just posted that document up in the chat just a little bit earlier, okay? But so this is the screen that I see when I edit the video in Camtasia, and I edit edit that so that you'll have the best replay possible. But what's showing in YouTube is it's removing that bar on the side, so it's truncating the edges of the video, and that makes it a little bit difficult for people to see what it is that I'm doing while I'm talking about it. So what we've done for the moment is I have for today on this webinar, what I'll do is I'm going to change and make the video smaller, so that and I've tested it, making the video smaller. It makes it a little bit more difficult to see. So I'm going to encourage you to use the theater mode, so that it'll be easy for you to. Yes, I've noticed that it was just creating an issue, and so and it only started a few weeks ago. So rather than go back and change all those, which is just really difficult to do, we're just going to, from this point forward, correct that issue. But I'm going to encourage you to be in the theater mode to do that. And if you want to get those updates as they happen, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. When you see that, you'll notice that it is in a YouTube channel, and you have the ability to be able to subscribe to that. Okay? Now, interestingly enough, yesterday I'm talking with Rose. We were having a conversation about the webinars and the replays and that. And this shows up from the past on my timeline. And I thought, this is just perfect. This is one of the first things I ever did in YOUZIGN. And it was back when it was a very early version of version 1. And so this is a little bit limited, but I stepped out of my truck at the church parking lot one night and I saw that image, took a picture of it, and the first thing that went through my head was this quote from Albert Einstein, which I think is perfect for us on this day when we're going to spend some time talking about a major change that has taken place. And so keep this in mind, and I think about this frequently. There are 3 rules of work. Out of clutter, find simplicity. You've heard me talk about the value of simplicity over and over and over again. Out of clutter, find simplicity. From discord, find harmony. From discord, find harmony. In the flurry of activity that takes place when a new product comes out, find the place of harmony rather than the place of discord. And in the middle of the difficulty always lies the opportunity. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. But I just thought it was interesting that should appear in my timeline. Notice that the text is very plain, and I had to move it to the top so that it could be seen. Just some limitations on that, but it was interesting. That was one of the first images I created in YOUZIGN. So thought I would share that with you today. I find this to be a very inspirational quote from somebody who is the definition of a genius. Okay, y'all like that? Tell me in the comments if you like that. So we'll move on as we go, but I just was curious if you like that quote, because I like it. Out of clutter, find simplicity. From discord, find harmony. And in the middle of difficulty always lies opportunity. So next thing is, remember, learn to use your tools. Derek posted this the other day, and I just thought it was wonderful. I saw this post in the YOUZIGNers group, and Derek had made this as a promo. And you'll see here there are lots of what he's done is taken the images that he created in YOUZIGN and put them in some mock-ups, and the mock-ups look amazing. He really did a nice job of this and understood the best use of the mock-ups for the promotion that he was creating for a client. So I just thought it was great, and wanted to share that with you. Give a little shout out to Derek for the job that he did. I thought it was really cool. Okay. And then David posted this in YOUZIGNers. And again, this is another one of those things that I really liked. And I thought he did an amazing job of using the limits of what was capable of being able to do inside of LogoZign as of right now. And so again, I'm always telling you, push your limits, push that out as far as you possibly can, and make sure that you don't get hung up on things and you stretch the limit as far as you possibly can. Stretch the limit of your of your design capability. Stretch the limits of your imagination. Stretch the limits of the things that you are capable of doing. And David did that here. He found some, and the other thing was he found some things that he had questions about and he wanted to address. I love the way he did this. And this is the way to do it. He captured the images, put his thoughts on the image. He lettered them, made it really work. This is finding harmony in discord. And I loved it. I just thought it was a great example of that quote from Albert Einstein. Okay. Now, I had a little fun today, and you're going to get to see some of the fun as I was thinking about this. You know, I've been using the word templateology for some time, and last week we talked about clickology because I thought that was pretty cool. And so this morning, just having fun. I don't have anything to announce about this, but having fun, I decided I would create a nudgeology because John used the word nudge the text rather than to move it or align it. And that word always just cracks me up. So I decided that I would create a little GIF with nudgeology. And we're actually going to talk about shadows today. And you can see how the shadow really makes a difference in this little GIF that I created here. So we'll talk about nudgeology at another time, but I thought this was pretty cool. Yeah, I'm in the process of creating all of these interesting words around the word ology. So this is it. And we'll talk about shadows today. Shadows are actually going to be our Canvas study. And so, and yes, I'm resisting the urge to call that Canvasology. All right. So Gene, if you're there, I thought maybe you would enjoy this little GIF that I created using shadows and the word nudgeology. We are happy to announce today, for those of you who don't know, that version 3.0 of YOUZIGN is now available. It is in the early stages and lots of things are being tweaked as we go. So keep that in mind. The canvas works fine. The canvas works beautifully. I'll point out a couple of the things that people might have an issue with today. And I really liked, thank you, Gene. I really liked the email that y'all got yesterday from Bertrand, where he shared his heart, what his passion has been, what his vision has been. And yes, that's exactly how I did it, Roy. But he shared his heart, he shared his vision, he shared what he wanted to accomplish with this. And I'm just proud to be a part of that team and to see where this product is going and the capabilities of that. There are some things that are in the works that we're hoping will be out by the end of December. And just keep in mind that we're working through a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. Version 3 was, while the canvas kind of looks the same, version 3 was a new build. So that's not an easy task. Okay. All right. Yes, I thought it was just a great email, and so I really appreciated the. This is the thing to keep in mind. This is a SaaS platform, and so when it is upgraded, you are moved up to the new version. If you're an existing user, you're moved up to the new version. And Teresa, if you log into your account, what you will see is version 3. This comes up a lot. People, what version am I using? If you've logged in and it worked, then you're using the current version. Okay. The next thing is, make sure that I looked yesterday, and there hasn't been a lot of people that have signed into the Instagram account. So if you're an Instagram user, make sure to check out the Instagram account. This has really been fun, and it's been kind of cool to see the behind the scenes version of what goes on to create what you have access to. And this has been fun. So I've enjoyed being on the Instagram list, but make sure that you do that. This is the last week I mentioned that last week, and I'll do it again this week. But Not anymore. I just like to see, I'll show up to see the Instagram version of the behind the scenes of what's going on. The next thing is that we push out an upgrade on LogoZign on Fridays. Last Friday, I was waiting until the last minute to finish the agenda for the webinar, and 39 minutes into the webinar, version 0.4 became available. So last week I said version 0.3. It is actually version 0.4 today, and I'm hoping that we'll have some announcement today about that. All you have to do is go into your LogoZign URL, the logozign.com URL, go into your account and see what the current version is. And that's the reason why I've given you this little image right here. That's a really easy way to check that and find out. Okay. The next thing is that we have a brand new interface with version 3 of YOUZIGN, and that interface is incredible. I'm going to give you two things about that interface right now in the agenda, and we'll probably discuss them a little bit as we open up the canvas and use it in just a little bit. But the first thing is that the design management is slightly different than it had been before. And while most of us knew that there was the ability to be able to search your designs, this looks much more obvious than it had before. Okay. So this is just going to be awesome. When you log in here, you're going to see your designs right here. Now, I'll say something about that when we get to it, but the first thing I want to point out is the new design platform. Obviously, you also have over on the left-hand side, you have designs. You have templates. You have a whole list of stuff on this side over here. I'm going to point out the designs, kind of know already how the templates operate. Keep in mind that we're still tweaking the templates so that you'll get all of the templates that you have before we upgraded to version 3. I'm still missing some templates, but I know that they'll be taken care of. We've got I have no doubt whatsoever that will happen, and you can be confident that if you had those templates, you will have them again. Okay. Yeah, I agree, Gene. It does give you a little more visibility, and I like the way we're going to be able to manage that better than we did before. I think it'll be a great experience for everybody who is on the platform. The other thing is the marketplace, and this has been Bertram's vision since the beginning, was that we'd have a place where we could communicate as designers. We could communicate with each other. We could share with each other. We could actually market our designs and do those kinds of things. So this is just really, really going to be cool. Now, as of right now, there's only a few things in there. I put something in, Gene put something in, and I see some other people have started to put some things in the marketplace so that you would get a chance to see those. Now, I pointed out something. Your designs will be marked with, and you'll see it right here, your designs will be marked with a blue shopping cart. Somebody else's designs will be marked with a red shopping cart, and your interaction with those designs will be different based upon whether they're yours or someone else's. Okay. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the team thing is going to work. I haven't had a chance to put my team in yet and see if their designs are placed differently. But this is going to be important for you to remember as you scroll through here. All you'll have to look for is this a blue shopping cart or is it a red shopping cart? Okay, so this is an awesome opportunity for you as a designer. Now, I have a community poll. So this is what I want. This is the community poll question today. When you open the design canvas, now that we've talked about the dashboard, when you open the design canvas, what is your first reason for doing so? What is your first reason for opening the design canvas? And I'm going to deal with something that comes up a lot here. And so I want to know, what is your first reason? Is it to create an ad? Is it to create a print design? Is it to create a social post? Or is it to create a product cover? Or is it just simply to play? Because some of you just really like to play with the canvas. And if you do, then there's some other things that we're going to need to talk about that, okay? But I see people are saying to create a print design, to create a social post. So good. Blog images, I consider that to be a social post. I'm just trying to come up with the shortest list as possible. But I would throw blogs in that same. Okay, good. Thank you for your input on that. That really helps me to understand where you're coming from, because it kind of helps me to design what we're going to do with webinars as we go forward. But there is a point that I want to make with this in just a little bit, and you'll see what that is when we get to it. Okay. Now, this is what we're going to look at today on the Canvas studies. All right. We're going to, because y'all kind of yeah, to create a sales product, I put that in the same category as a product cover, Tom. So, but thank you for your input. I was trying to make the categories as small as possible, and I had to stop at 5 so that we wouldn't go just completely crazy. But on the Canvas studies today, you all inspired me last week. First of all, you inspired me several weeks ago about the silhouettes. And so last week you mentioned something, and it caused sometimes you say something and my head explodes. I get this creative desire to solve a major problem. And so I created this, what we called last week, a reverse silhouette. We called it a reverse erase, and I created a silhouette from that. And now we have the reverse silhouette. Okay, which is I have created, and I saw this picture and I went, oh, that's perfect. This reminds me of when my daughters were dating, and that picture that you see right there, I wish I could tell you how many times they saw that silhouette looking back at them. And so I created this little reverse silhouette here, and I'm going to show you how I did that in just a little bit when we get to the canvas, okay? But the first thing that went through my head was, I have seen that very thing right there, me in that position, as I saw that symbol walking off into the sunset, okay? So hopefully that was kind of fun for you. And I'll show you how we did that. I can show you how cool it will be when we can use that with filters, and what you can do to make that just a really, really awesome experience. All right. Then we're going to talk about using mockups, and as well as shadows. If you'll notice the shadows here on this mock-up, and we'll talk about shadows in a little bit, but I want you to see what you can do with the mock-ups. We talked a lot last week about print design, and a minute ago when we did the poll, a number of you said that when you open the canvas, you open it to print. And there seems to be some confusion about the purpose of the mock-ups if I'm not taking the mock-up and sending it to a print company, because that's not what you do. So I mentioned this right now simply so that you can understand that there is value in the mock-ups, even though the mock-up is not what you're going to send to a print company. Okay, we spent a lot of time last week talking about print-on-demand type companies that we would work with, and I've given you 3 or 4 that I have accounts with, and showed you where those are at and how to utilize those, realizing that in the process of that kind of cut off and truncated part of that. But if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend that you go back and take a look at that that webinar that we did last week on print on demand. Okay, any questions about that? If so, we'll catch them. And good. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about colors and using a color palette and how to utilize that color palette to help you to build your designs. Okay, all right. Stephen, I'm not exactly sure what issue that you're having. Love to talk to you about that, though. Thank you for bringing that question up, because we'll that's a good point, and we'll do what we can to try to address that. I'm not sure I can address that in the scope of today's webinar. All right, yeah, do that, and then I'll have Gloria share that with me. All right. Then here, we're going to talk about shadows today. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about 3D designs, and today I'm going to talk about shadows, because some really cool stuff you can do with shadows, and I've pointed that out here. Gloria caught it, because shadows are the thing that really can make a huge difference in your design capabilities. And so we'll play with shadows for just a little bit. You're going to be fascinated by what you can do. Okay. The shadows give you tremendous capabilities to be able to do some really, really cool stuff with your designs. And so I've given you 5 of them here. We'll play with these. I think you'll find it really cool what you can do with the shadows. All right. Now, having said that, I'm going to address another issue that comes up a lot. This is again, this is, you understand that I've always told you that I'm a problem solver, and that's what I do, is I solve problems. But a question comes up a lot: how do I edit PSD files? And that's in the works. That's something that will be released at some point in time. Yeah, just get that out, Stephen, and we'll do our best to try to take care of that, because that's an interesting, again, I'm talking about solving problems. That's an interesting problem, and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on there. Okay. Now, this question of PSD files comes up a lot. All right. And I have taken a PSD file right here. I saved it as a ping file. Now, I don't even know how to do that on a PC. I haven't used a PC in so many years, it isn't even funny. I only use a Mac, but on a Mac, it's really, really simple to save a PSD file into a ping file. I took that ping file, I loaded it up. I wanted to hang on to this blueprint section right here, and I wanted to utilize that, and I created this. And this is what I do when I'm trying to edit a PSD file. I simply create something out of it that I want to do. Obviously, if I'm going to edit it, I don't want this smart OTO up here. There's something I'm going to change on it, or I'm not going to edit it. Does that make any sense at all? So if I'm editing it, I want to make it uniquely mine. And this was a way for me to make that product cover become uniquely mine. And I changed it to make the product that I wanted to put in it to be my product. Now, if I was going to simply add my name to it, then there's something that I could do right here and just add my name. And I'll show you that when we get to the canvas in just a minute. So I'm going to show you today how to solve for that problem until it is possible to edit PSD files. But keep in mind, now, the reason why I asked the question earlier was, and what you see right here is, you want to begin with the end or the output in your mind. Begin with the end in mind. Always start with the end in mind. Marcellus, let me tell you the reason why I do that, okay? I'm going to interrupt here for just a second. I'm going to tell you the reason why I do this. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be cold, but I want everybody to understand this. Years and years ago, I had a shop where we did architectural design. And not a design shop, but we did architectural. We did the actual creation of architectural millwork. And the thing to keep in mind is that when people start using multiple tools, all of their skills go down. And so I always try to take people as deep as I can go in the existing tool components that we have. Every time I would bring a new tool into the shop, all of the quality of work went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And I observed that for years. And it was so frustrating to me, because I would have this amazing new tool I would bring in, and everybody would be thinking about that and how to use that. And what happened was the rest of their skills diminished. So I always try to take people as deep, and we try to find solutions inside of the product that they have so that they can become a master at what they do. By adding additional multiple things, what happens is you only have so much bandwidth to be able to handle that. And I've seen people asking, how many other things are going to be added to YOUZIGN version 3, but I've also seen them ask questions that were really, really simple stuff that they should have already known how to do. So we want to make sure that we take people as deep as we possibly can with the existing toolbox that they have, because adding to that becomes a distraction. And that's the reason why I say that. I'm not trying to be mean. I have a purpose in mind. And I understand, and I wanted to make sure that everybody understood what was happening. But my whole purpose here is, when there is a problem, I want to show you the process of solving it. because finding a problem, if I can become a problem solver, the world is mine. I now have the capabilities of doing all kinds of cool stuff. So that's the reason why I do that. All right, enough of that. Now, if you begin with the end in mind, and I showed you this image last week, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it very much. You set your canvas size first. I figure out what it is I'm going to do. And once I understand what I'm going to do, then I set my canvas size for that size. You know, I either use the presets or I create my own canvas size. But I set the canvas size first, and everything that I load in is going to fit inside of that canvas framework. All right. In this case, my logo over here is like 1400 pixels by 1400 pixels. It's something close to that. Okay. But my canvas size is 800 by 800. 800 by 800 works as a great Facebook post. All right. So I set the canvas size first. I began with the end in mind. I set the canvas size first. And once I've set the canvas size, then I upload my images. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because several people have reported that they're having an issue using the new from image. And that's what I was discussing with Rose yesterday. She says the one thing that we're getting reports on is that this new from image doesn't work. And it still doesn't. I tried it this morning. This is one of those things that they're aware of it, and they're trying to find the solution to it. And I said, but Rose, I've never used that, because I always start with my end product in mind. Yeah, I still can't do it, Gloria. So I don't know what's happening. Like I say, but I have no reason to ever create from the image. I'm using the image to create something. So I already set my canvas size first. I'm telling you this because there's a bigger point here, not whether this thing gets fixed or not, but because there really shouldn't be a reason for you to start here. I understand that if you're editing a picture or something like that, I get that, but that's a rarity. All right. In this case right here, this file, I simply imported once I had my product cover canvas set. So then it doesn't matter what size that was, it's going to work. Okay. So I want you to understand that if you begin with the end in mind, you solve an awful lot of issues. And I see this happen all the time. Somebody will take something that they like that's 250 by 250 and expect to be able to create a product cover out of it. You can't do that because it's the wrong size. You can't make the image quality better when it's too small to begin with. So always start out with your end in mind. What's going to be my end product here? Now, having said all of that, we're going to get to the tips and the tricks, and I've realized I'm going to have to put a new image here in my mock-up, and so it's probably time for a new mock-up for me because that isn't the way it looks anymore. And so then any questions that we have skipped over today, we'll get that. So let me change my canvas here, and let's get to the canvas today. All right. So the first thing that I want to do, okay, so you should see my YOUZIGN screen here. Tell me if you're seeing my YOUZIGN screen. I've got to get your chat box back up. Somebody said resampleology. I like that. Y'all are catching on, okay? All right. So y'all should see my screen here, and everything's cool. Okay, I'm looking here, and I believe there are 17 images here. And those 17 images, obviously, I made that crawl across the screen. And I made that crawl across the screen. And then I wanted to put it on a really cool looking background here. But I'm not going to, we've talked numerous times about how to create from multiple images. To do this, and somebody asked the question a little bit ago, so you did that from images. Yes, I created this from multiple images. I created multiple images and had them just simply move them across the screen, and then I introduced the shadow, and had the shadow roll around the outside of it. So I thought that was kind of a cool little design. Pretty easy to do, but it's a good test of skills and puts you in the process. So I'd highly recommend that you just open your YOUZIGN canvas sometime, create numerous images. What I do now, I realize that the instructions say to call it frame underscore 001. I just call it 001, and it works beautifully. I have no issues with it whatsoever. But if you're going to do this, and it has an order that it goes in, we've discovered that it works better with PNG files and JPEG files. So you want to save your files as a PNG file. Okay. But that was a really simple little thing to do, and but I think it looks really cool, and I like the way the shadow goes around the outside of it. It kind of highlights that. So we'll talk about shadows today. I introduced this to you because I want you to see the use of the shadows. Okay, so let me go back here, and I get that screen. I'll be finished with that screen, and hopefully we won't have to disappear again. So I'll stop sharing. There we go. That one worked fine that time. So you all should see that palette screen. Tell me if you can see the palette screen. All right, good. Thank you. So I always appreciate your responding back to me. It makes my job a lot easier when you do that. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. This is the little palette screen called Coolers, which I think is really cool. I really need to move this. There we go. Now I've got it. All right. But I picked some, because these are not colors that I normally use. And so when my wife and I got married, everything I owned was gray. I had gray shirts, gray pants, gray socks, gray shoes. Everything I owned was gray. And I did that because it made my life really simple. And so she said to me, we're gonna introduce you to color. And so I've been playing with colors with this color palette. It's been kind of fun. Okay, so now let's take a look at the this was the last one. So let me scroll back over here. This is the dashboard. I'm gonna quickly cover the dashboard. I'm gonna run out of time if I'm not careful here. But I'm gonna quickly cover the dashboard. You have your designs, you have your templates. So they're now in two different places. They were in two different buttons on your dashboard before, but they look like this. And you'll notice that they're still improving the number of templates. This number has gone up just a little bit for me since yesterday, but they'll get them. I know that they will. We had this issue when they changed servers the last time, and it all came back. So just be patient. I'm very confident that's going to work. This is the marketplace dashboard. And here's what I was telling you earlier about the red shopping cart versus the blue shopping cart. And you can see how that's an advantage. Go through and put your team in. If you have the ability to be able to add team members, do that. I just started with this, and I'll get this taken care of soon. You do have a message panel, and I tested that, and it works. So you want to check that out. All right. This is the logo design, and like I said, just hit refresh on Fridays and see where we're at right now. We're still at version 0.4, but the intention is to do Friday push-outs. With this week having everything that it had, not sure that that's going to happen today, but that's how you check, okay? The next thing, this is how we created the reverse template. I won't talk about that because we're going to run out of time. You see what I did with this here. I wanted to remind you again of using filters, because filters work wonderful in this case. And here's an example of what I'm talking about using the filters. Can you see what I'm doing here? I can do some really cool stuff with the filters because of this reverse silhouette that I have here. I can totally change the dynamic of that by simply changing the filter. And don't forget, you can change the opacity of your filter as well. All right? Any questions about that? Gene, I'm not sure about the answer to the question about payments. We're just really trying to learn this thing as quick as possible. Okay, I don't have anything highlighted, Susanna. That's a great question. I don't have anything highlighted here. I'm just simply going through the filters, and the filters themselves change the whole image. Okay, they filter the whole image, and you'll see that. Let me get one here that's really obvious. And you change the opacity here, and you can see how that filter impacts the image itself. Okay, so they always impact the entire image. Yeah. So does that answer the question, Kale? I want to make sure that everybody's clear about that. Because sometimes, you know, you just need a little bit of a tweak to your color there. And maybe you've got like this one right here. If I take that down, it doesn't change a lot, but you can see what it does is it makes this hot spot here look more powerful. So I just highly recommend that you play with the filters, particularly if you're going to do something like this. All right. If you're going to do something like that, the filters are just awesome. Now, I want to take this image apart for just a moment, and I'll show you what I did. All right. That came from here, where I took that silhouetted design. There's about 6 steps involved in that, but I eliminated this part right here and kept the outside to create this right here. But this image, interestingly enough, again, this is that problem-solving challenge that we have. This is the size of that image, but in order for this to look proper, I need it to fit inside of my head. All right. And it doesn't fit inside of my head. So what I did was I layered 2 images, one on top of the other one, and I moved them apart. Because if I don't have this image, let me move that off the canvas. If I don't have that image, we got a couple of these here. So if I don't have that image in the canvas, and I move this over here, what happens is I have empty space right here. So I took this image, and I brought that over so that it kind of matched there. It doesn't match perfectly, but it matches enough that when you get out to the end of the fingers, you don't really notice it too much. And you can adjust that, play with it a little bit, make it so that it fits properly. So it fits something so that it works for you. And you can get rid of the edge there. You can try going up here and doing a blur and do the blur radius right here. You can do lots of little things with this to make that happen. But you understand what I'm doing here? I've actually had to layer these images. The other thing that I did was notice this on the background. If I make that background, this is the background, okay? So what I did was I took my color picker tool from right here, went over and picked the color right above them to make it my background, so that now when I do my overlay, you don't see that, okay? Does that make sense? Everybody see what I'm doing there? And I've got to do something about that. So I think I lost my image there. But do y'all see what I'm doing? Yes. You can do that. You can play with the erase on your second image. Correct. Yeah. Keep in mind, I have a limited amount of time on this webinar, so I try to keep my designs as simple as possible for the webinar, so we won't create too much of an issue. And in this case, what I've done here is I just simply move that just enough that it looks like it's fading away, because this is the same color here. This is the background, and that's the same color in my background. Okay. So there's lots of little tricks that you can do, but you can find a way to make it work. Okay. Yeah. And I agree. The color picker is one of my favorite tools, and I use that a lot. Yep. Many paths to the top of the mountain. There's lots of what my dad would say is many ways to skin a cat, but I never really liked to skin a cat, so it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But you understand what we're doing here. We're finding a way to take our skills as deeply as we possibly can so that we can get the results that we're after. That's my point that I was trying to make earlier, and I really want you to understand that, because that is so important that we do that. All right, so next thing, and this will be the last one for the day, is I want to talk about the shadows for just a little bit, okay? So let's take a look at the shadows, because I took a color. I went over here to my color picker to pick that color design that I had earlier, picked this color palette, all right? And from that color palette, I was able to create these things just from that color palette. Now you have some amazingly different looks here. This I added the 3D dimension to, like I showed you how to do a couple of weeks ago. But in this case, I did this, and my color, we'll just take it apart. My color here was this color. I did a black border around the outside of it, and then I put a shadow that was the dark color. This is the same color that this image is. So now that gives you a real 3D effect. Because my color, this is my color right here. It's the color of my top layer with no outline, no border around the outside of it. I've put the bordered image down first, and then I laid the full color image over the top of it. Okay, is that clear? Do y'all understand what I did there? Then you have here. Now I want you to see something really cool with this, and you'll have to play with this, because you get different effects by rotating. You get different effects by rotating your shadows. All right, remember I rotated the shadow on the nudgeology. The only reason why I put that out today was because I wanted you to see the effect of just rotating your shadows. You change the way the print looks by rotating your shadows. Does that make good sense to everybody? And by doing it like this, that looks completely different than that does. Totally different look. Exactly the same colors. Didn't do anything different with the colors. Didn't do anything different with the text. Just made a huge difference when I rotated this shadow. So, very quickly, this one on this, and again, these are all 5 of the colors here came from this color palette right here. So on this line of text here, what I did was I made that text the darkest color on that color palette. And I'm going to show you how I did that in just a minute. But I made it the darkest color on the color palette. And then what I did was I changed the shadow. Oops. I changed the shadow to the color, the next color over on the color palette right here. All right. Just a little tweak, but keep in mind you can change the color of your shadows, and it changes the look of your image completely, changes the line of text completely when you change the color of your shadows. All right. And you have really created, as Gloria said, here's something that is a very unique look. All right. Now, I'm getting to the best part here. This one right here, this piece, what I did with it is, for my shadows, I put the dark color in the shadow using the very light color as the text. But it makes that text look different. Now watch what happens when I do this. It disappears, almost. Not completely, but almost disappears. But when I add it, now it stands out, okay? And if I make the opacity of it, it changes the look a lot. All right? Is that clear? Does everybody understand what we're doing here? because this is something that I think that it makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference in how your text looks. Makes a huge difference in how it communicates. Now, let me show you the coolest one. Okay? Are you ready for the cool one? That's this one right here. All right? Now, I have made the text exactly the same color as the background. All I did was I added this, not the darkest color, but the next to the darkest color off of this color palette. I added this color right here. Now I'm going to show you how I did that. Okay. I just simply clicked on here. I copied that. I went up here. I opened this up, went down, double clicked there, pasted that in, and then clicked OK. All right. That's how you do that. It's really simple. But this, without the shadow, disappears completely. That's an amazing look, right? Yes, it looks embossed. Correct. Is there a way to alter the sharpness of the shadow? All you can really do with the shadow is this. I can change the opacity of the shadow. And see, it makes a huge difference in how this looks by just changing the opacity of the shadow. And I can change the distance of it, but you reach a point where the distance doesn't make any sense anymore when you're on this on something that looks like this. I've got to keep that close enough that it outlines my letters. And I can change the direction of it. But as far as changing the crispness of the shadow, the answer to that question is no. But you see the difference that it makes here as we go around the corner? There we go. And again, just changing the direction of the shadow makes a huge difference in how it looks. All right, 2 minutes left. We got any other questions about this? Okay, this is the darkest color right here. All right, I did that. Now, if we were to go in and change the background so that it was the same color as this, I think that's what you're asking, Ellie. I'm not sure, but yeah, just take this and play with it. I think you'll be surprised at what you're able to do. And again, I just took the colors from this palette. I didn't do anything else. This is everything. That's the border. See, that's the border is one of those 5 colors. And then I'm working within a really tight window of color here, but they're all complementary colors and they work really well together. Yes, that's exactly what it does. It leads your eye in a particular direction. I see your question, Ellie. In order to try the lightest with the darkest in the back, if I did this, the darkest is just, let's see if I've got that saved here. That's the darkest right there. Oops, that's the wrong one. Oh, this is the darkest. And then I put that in the background. It's the same color there. So again, do you see what we're doing with this? This is the reason why this color picker and this tool right here becomes so handy. I can save these colors and I can use them. So now that color is stored for me and I can pull that color and use it anytime I want to. All right. Anything else as we close up today? All right. Anything else? Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on today and helping us. And I put the wrong URL and I apologize. I missed a letter. Yeah, be patient on the webinar, particularly right now, because we've got the rollout of version 3. We just got a lot of stuff going on. But if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, I will probably have that ready sometime today or tomorrow. Without the agenda with it, okay? But everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Be safe, and make it a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be right back here next Friday doing the same thing, same time, as always. And we'll go through the chat, make sure that we've addressed your questions, and we'll get you caught up. So thank you for joining us today. I look forward to talking to you soon.